Oh boy, wow. Okay. New episode. Now, admittedly, I have nothing more creative to do for these kind of things, so I'm just gonna cut right to the fucking changes. So, let's get it. The first one is that some dialogue from Haruko's cut, I'd imagine for brevity's sake. It's basically when Vats is essentially asking, we couldn't get these guys to do it, which is in the anime, but the response afterwards, which is basically, it's okay, it's faster to do it ourselves alone anyway, is cut entirely. Not sure why, but yeah, okay, that's the first change. The second one is, while essentially Utena's kind of groveling over the fact that, she isn't going to be able to see your magic girls and all that shit, at a certain portion, she's like, basically asking why Vena isn't the leader. And, she just responds that she's the mascot. That entire little section is cut. I'm not sure why they cut this either, but again, I'd imagine brevity. Next is more of a visual thing that has to do with outfits. Not the only one in this episode, by the way. But Matama's fishnets in her dress aren't as detailed as in the manga. Where in the manga they look a lot more flowery, here they just look a lot more basic and standard, which I guess is fair. They also don't want that shit to be super detailed. Do you know how hard it is to do fence drawings in fucking anime? That shit is difficult. I can see why they didn't bother with that. Then, some conflict between Kiryu and Kurisu is added. I forgot exactly where, but I know it was somewhere after essentially while Utena is still groveling and all. So, yeah, there's that. Then, a little segment where I mentioned some things that got cut. Essentially, I think it was mostly after essentially Azul asked if Utena's fine. For the first time, by the way. It's more so some brevity again, because, it's pretty much, what are you doing here? No, I was just thinking if I could do anything to help or something from Azul. That was cut as well. I could imagine, again, for brevity, because really, why would they need that dialogue? Alright, next one's more of a small little visual thing. There are actually a lot of this in the anime that I didn't really mention very much, but I think for this once I'm going to mention it. Some dirt is removed, because originally, Azul looked a lot dirtier here. But in the anime, she looks almost crystal clean, which is odd, but sure. Alright. Then, the next one's a pretty simple one. It's just some extra raunchiness of the massage, which, come on. If you've watched the anime up to this point and weren't expecting them to add some extra raunchiness, you might be watching the wrong show. Please go back to pre-Q. Anyways, and the final thing is an extra expression from Utena within all that massaging? I wouldn't say that's all too important, but I will still mention it there. And those would be the changes for Chapter 21. Now for 42, this is something that I think most anime-onlys are going to be completely unaware of, but there's some pages that got completely removed because obviously it refers to an event that happens in 40 and 41 chapters, for clarity. Yeah, so obviously they're not going to place those there. And for that matter, any mention of 40 and 41 is completely cut in this. It's mostly some small dialogue stuff, but yeah, all of that is basically cut wherever it is possible to do so. Then, the next change is that we get to see a bit more of Loco and Leber. Whereas in the original chapter, we wouldn't even see them at all. Here, I assume so that they could better transition into chapters 23 and 24, which, for anyone out of the know, is the beach episode. I can imagine this was essentially utilized so that they could get them to actually wear the swimsuits at all, and at least give them a reason to have it, because they're obviously not going to do 22. So, as a way to compromise and make it so that the next episode would flow better, yeah, they cut out chapter 22 and just had these two interacting a little bit throughout the episode. They even come back at the end, when everyone gets flung away. But nothing too important. That's the next change. Alright, next one up is... This is actually something that I noticed only because a Japanese comment on the original PV pretty much pointed this out. But Kurisu and Kiwi's outfits actually have longer sleeves. I didn't even notice this either until this was called out to me. But yes, the sleeves are indeed a lot longer this time. Then, there's some extra dialogue stuff here while they're in the store. Mostly some dialogue with Utena telling Kurisu to get anything she wants. And also, some extra dialogue of Utena questioning how Haruka knows who Kurisu is. Because obviously it would be a little odd that she would know who she is. And it's weird she never acts in the manga, but I guess it wasn't anything too important. Alright, the next one is the, in air quote, Godzilla roar is cut here. It's still there, but it comes a little later. And I wouldn't really say it's anywhere close to a roar. It is what it is, though. They just didn't do that roar. Alright. Next is actually a visual change. And in the original 42, she transformed into her lust form. What reason? I think it was because of something that happened in the manga. Wait, did they go to the fucking water? No. I don't want to get too detailed. Anything. That's just potential manga spoilers. But here, she's in her lust form. In the anime, she's in her standard form, as opposed to her lust form. I guess to be fair, she wouldn't really have a reason to be in her lust form, because, like, she's not fighting that hard. Come now. So, there's that. There's some added dialogue if you try to tell Carissa to not destroy the city and be careful of the buildings, because obviously since this happens after 21, it makes sense that they'd obviously be a little wary of destroying the buildings, so it makes sense they added that dialogue there. Next is a moment of Kiwi using what is apparently an illuminated wand. Yeah, I had to Google this one because I wasn't sure what she was holding, so I had to go look up. Next up after that is some extra raunchiness, of course, to this scene, because come on, again, pretty obvious why. You see enough of this anime, trust me, this doesn't surprise you with the slightest. Alright. And then finally, the last little change is a slight outfit difference for Seo. There's actually been a consistent outfit difference too. But yeah, that's the final change for this episode. Maybe there's more that I didn't notice or failed to mention. I'd love for anyone to tell me that in the comments if possible. But that's about it. Yep. Bit of a longer recording than usual, but I think this is fair.